Hey everybody, it's Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. How are you guys today? I am so happy to be here with you. We are going to make this amazing card. This week I'm focusing on Ranunculus Romance. There are dies that match it. The dies are called Ranunculus dies, and Ranunculus is the type of rose that is. So that's the name of that rose. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but that's the name of that. This is a really beautiful stamp set. I call it a collage stamp set. It is vintage and I love that look. Not for every card, of course, but sometimes you just need a little vintage in your life, right? So it makes cards super easy. You guys are going to love the projects that I have for you this week. They're all different colors, all different styles, all different types. And my 3D project, which should be out on Thursday, you're going to absolutely love it. I fell in love with it. I think it's great. And I'm having so much fun working with the stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started and I will show you how to make this card. Don't forget that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, definitely hit that button because you don't want to miss any of my content. I do post about 5 days a week, sometimes less. It just depends on what's going on. I did want to share that I'm also using the stitched dies, the new ones. They're called Stylish Shapes, and they actually have stitching on the outside and like piercings on the inside of the dies. So the part that's left out has a stitch when you cut this circle out, but the inside is pierced. So I love the look of it. And I've used it for this square that I've turned into a diamond shape here and this main focal circle. So it's the largest one of the circles. And it's the second smallest of the squares. So I just wanted to let you guys know that because we're going to be using those today as well. I love all of the basic dies that are shape related because they just take your cards to the next level. So if you don't have any shapes, all of the products that I use today are linked in the description below. So definitely check out my links there and start your collection of shapes because you will thank me. They're awesome and they do a great job for us. So let's go ahead and start with a little die cutting. We have to do this rose in the center and it needs to be die cut, but I didn't want to do it ahead of time because I wanted to show you how I did the rose. So it is colored with our Stampin' Up markers, and both of these colors are out of the Subtles collection. You get 10 markers in the pack, all 10 that are in the Subtles collection. So what I'm going to do is we have a brush tip and a bullet tip, and I'm going to use the brush tip here, and I'm going to start with the roses, and I'm not going to use the tip. I don't want to crush it, so I'm just going to use the side of the marker here, and I'm going to color this rose, and I'm going to color this one here. And you can see as you color it, it darkens the rubber, so it's easy to see that you have, filled the surface. And then you have a small rose in this corner here. And then the rest of it is going to get the pool party color. Now, I do want to show you that on this stamp, you have a stem up here. So try not to color that in the blushing bride color that I've used here. So try and avoid that. But if you do happen to mark it up by accident, what I recommend is that you have Q-tips in your craft area, and you can just wet the tip of a Q-tip with a little bit of water, and you can just get that marker off of that area and then come in and mark it with the right color. So that's just a tip for you. We're gonna go ahead and get the leaves. Looking good. All right. Now, because I colored the pink first, I'm just going to go over it just a tiny bit more just to darken it a little and to make sure that it's nice and wet. All right. So let's go ahead and we're gonna huff on the stamp, which means blow out air, which moistens that marker. I'm gonna find a spot here on my scrap paper that I have, and I'm gonna press down. I like to press the stamp really hard so I know it's secure and it's not gonna move, and then I like to move my paper because that helps get that stamp image nice and intense. So there's our rose. Let's go ahead and clean our stamp, because we're gonna have to use this again in another color. And we're gonna go ahead and die cut this. So I'm gonna use my mini machine. I have the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I love it because it's so portable and so tiny, and it fits up to 3.5 inches of paper in it. So it's nice and roomy. So let's go ahead and put that in there. And I'm gonna grab the die from the Ranunculus dies, and it's this one right here. And as you can see, you have another outline for another flower that you can cut out. And then these are just extra pieces. Aren't they awesome? This is a really great set. You're gonna get to see a lot of the dies in use. I'm actually gonna turn this so I can see what I'm doing. Let's see, I gotta line this up. Get it just right. Just enough space, good. I'm gonna just take this little piece of washi tape. Actually, I'm gonna put it down here, I think, on the side, and just make sure that it kind of holds it a little bit in place for me. I'm gonna slide in. I'm gonna bring this back. I'm gonna slide in my sandwich, my last plate, and I'm gonna go ahead and crank it through, holding my die in place. Once it's in there, I'm gonna go ahead and hold the top. It is a pretty lightweight machine, so it can move easily. I'm gonna bring it back over here so you guys can see. You close the two sides and get out of the way. This is a great little machine, and it's super lightweight and portable. All right, so let's take, well, it popped out pretty easy. Let's grab the washi tape, put it back on my machine. Put my die back on my magnet plate. I'm gonna cut this away so that I have a scrap for something else that I might need. And we will toss the rest of that. There is our die. You see it has two small little pieces here that come out, so you have to get rid of those. And let's move all of the plates out of the way. All right. So now there is our rose. So I'm going to put it together with all of the other pieces. We have to do a little bit more stamping, and we also have to do a little bit of ink blending. So I cut the two leaf pieces out of basic white cardstock, and I wanted an ombre look to them. I didn't want them to be solid, which is why I didn't cut them out of a solid piece of cardstock. I wanted them to have a little bit of variegation in them. So let me grab a scrap piece of paper. I'm gonna put them down here. We're gonna use Sweet Sorbet, which is the color of our background cardstock, our card base. And so that is our ink color. I'm gonna grab a blending brush, and this one has Sweet Sorbet on it. And we are going to just tap off a little bit of the extra ink. Okay, and I'm going to start on this back end, and I'm going to variegate down to a lighter at the tip. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stem done. I don't really want to do a circular motion over it because I don't want it to tear. It's very thin, but the rest of this can handle it. So we're going to go ahead and do a circular motion. Let's move this guy out of the way till we're ready for him. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more color, dab off that excess. And again, we're going to go from dark to light. So I'm going to start at the back because I want to fade that color to the front. And so what you can do is you can use your, take your pick tool and you can hold on, or you can use your spatula end. Let me show you the spatula end. If you don't want to get your fingers full of ink, you can hold on with that spatula end. It bends, so it gives you a nice hold. And then we're just going to fade that into a lighter color there at the ends. I'm going to give more intensity. Whoops. Give more intensity on this side here. All right. So that one's ready. Let's do the next one. Again, we're going to start at the back, and I don't need this yet. I'm going to go ahead and use what's left on there, not much. Let's go ahead and pick up some more color. Remember, don't go circular on it because you don't want to bend it. And we're going to go ahead, and once we have that stem done, if I can get it to lay down, I'm going to go ahead and come in here where the sides of these leaves are and rotate some color in there. And then I'm going to pick up just a little bit of color, and I'm going to take most of it off because I want it to be super light in the front. Well, not super light, but I want you to see the variegation of the light to the dark. So as you can see, every single one of them is different when you do them. So that is how those turned out. So those are ready to go. I'm going to put them off to the side with our little rose here. We're done with our ink blending. For this piece here, I just used my same chamois that I used to clean my stamps, and I just take that ink right off of there. I'm going to put it back to the pointy side because I'm going to need that in a minute for my Stampin' Dimensionals when I start assembling this. All right, so on the card, we have a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inches. It's our base. And I'm going to go ahead and fold that in half. I've scored it at 5 1/2 in the center, and I'm going to use my bone folder to press that into place. So we're going to go ahead and press that down. Now, as you can see on my card here, I have some stamped pieces on these edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now while I have this ink pad opened. So I'm going to grab my stamp, and I've done it in 3 generation stamping. So I don't need to ink the whole thing up. But I'm going to go ahead and use this scrap paper. I'm going to start here on the end, and I'm just going to do full strength, then the next strength. Let's go a little bit more, and then tap off once, and then do another one. So you have a little bit of variation there on the end. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and it's going to be coming up from this direction. So I'm going to do full strength, next generation, and then maybe let's see if I can get that last one there. So those are that one. So that corner's done. On the inside, I've also used a stamp, but I've used it with Pool Party. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it. And the only other thing I'm going to be using that Sweet Sorbet for is the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and then we can put away that color of ink. So we'll grab the sentiment. It says, "Thank you for sharing your heart." I'm going to bring in that shape, and we're going to put it in a diamond form, not a square. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that right here. Thank you for sharing your heart. Looks good to me. We can close up this ink color, and now on to Pool Party. So let's bring that one in, and let's stamp everything that needs to be stamped in Pool Party. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this stamp, but because Sweet Sorbet is so dark, I like to stamp off till you can't really see it, and then put it in here so it doesn't muddy up your chamois as quickly. All right, so now this Pool Party is a very pale cardstock. I don't want it to get any of the Sweet Sorbet on it, so I'm going to discard this, and I'm going to start with a new piece of scrap paper. I'm going to bring in my large circle, and I'm going to ink up in Pool Party this rose. And then I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to go a little bit off. I don't want it right in the center. I want it a little bit to the left of center. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp my rose. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I love that. And then while we have the Pool Party out, let's go ahead and stamp the piece of cardstock that's going to go on the inside of our card. It's a piece of basic white. We're going to add a little bit of embellishment here. So I'm going to open that up so you can see what I'm doing. Move this out of the way. We were starting to get our little pile of pieces. I also have this Blushing Bride large ranunculus rose die cut, and then this little sprig in Pool Party. But here is my scrap paper. Here is my basic white paper. I'm going to bring it right here. I'm going to leave this end exposed because when I stamp this long piece, part of it is not going to be on to the paper. So I just want to make sure, and I'm just going to stamp it. and I'm going to stamp it again, and I'm going to stamp it again, and I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take a little off, I'm going to stamp it again. I'm going to do one more time, twice, and then do another little, I just want a little bit of variation there. And then I'm going to come in with this little, looks like a postage, where they canceled the postage on there, and it has a little Eiffel Tower. I think it's so cute. I'm going to stamp one here, and then I'm going to put a lighter one up here. So that is all of our stamping. So let's go ahead and clean our stamps, and then we can get to assembling. I think we have done a great job. What do you guys think? We have all our parts and pieces. I'm going to move this little scrap out of the way. Let's go ahead and put this on the inside while we're talking and thinking about it. I'm going to use my seal adhesive, and I love it because it's so quick, and it's super sticky. So we're going to go ahead and open our card, put this on the inside, get that part done. So there we go. Make sure that our border all the way around is even. Close that up. Now let's look at the front of our card. So the main focal piece is this circle. So we're going to center that in the middle of our card. I'm going to be using some wet adhesive. And when I use my wet adhesive, I like to use my silicone mat. So I'm going to bring that in. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my multi-purpose glue. And we'll just fill that in and make sure I get close to the edge there. And then I like to use this because it gives you wiggle room. You can slide it around a minute to get the proper placement. So I do like using it for things like this where you're putting stuff onto the front and you might need to move it a little. So let's go ahead and press that glue into place. All right. So there's our main rose piece. Let's build this little area. So as you can see here, we're using a piece of linen thread. I love this linen thread. If you don't own it, definitely check it out. So I'm going to just grab a little bit of length, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to form a tiny bow. I'm going to do 2 rabbit ears. And then I cross them and I put one of the loops of the rabbit ears through that loop that the cross made. If I can grab it. And then pull that through. Okay. And then we're going to pull on that one. All right. And pull on this one. And there we go. I wanted to make the bow just a tiny bit smaller than the one on the card there now. So there's what I have. I'm happy with that bow. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my paper snips, and I'm going to snip this end. I can put my linen thread away. If you've not experienced linen thread, I highly recommend checking it out. All right, so we're going to build this kind of little, I don't know what to call it really, but a little area here off to the side with all of this really cool stuff. So the first thing that I want to do is figure out where my rose pieces are going to go, how I want them to fit on here. And I think I like it about there. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. I'm going to start with the large pieces. I'm going to put some large dimensionals in the areas that will fit these larger ones. And then I'm going to use the minis in the areas that will need a little bit smaller pieces. I'm just going to put one more right there. And let's go ahead and pull the backs off of that. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to pull those off first, and then let's grab the minis. All right, so the backs are all off. Now I'm going to stick this little rose piece, how I want it to look, right onto the die cut. Now I don't want to stick this because it has a dimension on it. Now I want to place my leaves. So now I know where I can place the adhesive for these leaves to make them fit behind my rose piece, okay? So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive right here and stick. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a dimensional there to hold that in place behind where that rose is so that you don't see it. And then I'm going to fill in this leaf piece with some dimensionals because I want it to be lifted off the card as well. As you can see over here, the leaf is lifted up off the card. And so I'm going to try and hide these little guys wherever I can sneak them in, where they're not going to show. I think I can put one right there. Okay, so now that one's done, let's get the other side ready. I'm not going to take the adhesive off, so that's going to live like that. We're going to put another one on the other side. So let's go ahead and put it approximately where I want it to be. So about there, I'm going to flip it over. And again, I'm going to use a dimensional to hold that stem in place. And then I'm going to put dimensionals again on the back of these leaf pieces where they're not going to be seen, so that it can be lifted up off of the card. All right, and I think this one probably is going to show. I'm going to pull this one off. I don't want it there. I'm going to use the ends. I'm going to show you. I use the ends of, when I finished a thing of dimensionals, you have this border. And I'm going to cut just some little strips. I'm going to pull those off. And I'm going to stick those in the spots where I can't really fit a dimensional because it will show. I need one more. So save your dimensional ends for things like this. I just put them off to the side and have a little area of them. Okay. So that's that section. Now we want to attach our little flower, okay? Now, I'm not going to have this, you know, be up with dimensionals, but I am going to go ahead and attach it to the back. So I want it to be, let me see, about, I want to angle it down, I think, this way. So that about those flowers there fit. So again, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use dimensionals to hold it in place, but I want the dimensionals to be behind where the white is going to show because this is super skinny. And so I don't want it to, you know, show through. So I'm going to put one more right here because that's where the little baby rose is. And then I think we should be good now. So let's go ahead and pull all the backs off of these dimensionals here. And because I added another layer of height to this piece, I'm going to have to take my, this large dimensional here where the rose is, and I'm going to have to add one more dimensional on top of it to make it even. You'll see what I mean once I do it. So let's go ahead and pull the backs off. We're almost done. And then we can, I don't know if I got that one off. There we go. So let's move to this guy. You have to be careful because the stem is really the thing that's holding this together right now. So you don't want to rip it. So as you remove these dimensional backings, just be careful that you don't tear that thin stem, which is, like I said, the only place that it's really holding on. Until we get it on our card stable, that's going to be the only place. So let me grab another large dimensional. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to match it up with this one. Pull the back off there. All right. So let's go ahead and turn it over. It's sticky now, so wherever we land it is where it's going to stay. So let's just move it, make sure we have it in place where we want it. These little leaves are There we go. I love that. Let's put this one down. Let's move this guy up a little. Good. Move him over a little. There we go. He was stuck to the wrong place. I don't want him to stick off my card. There. All right, so there's our rose. Make sure she's in place straight. Got her. All right, and now we can add, let's see. I love that. What do you guys think so far? Pretty good. So let's go ahead and put our, I'm gonna put a large one in the middle, and then I'm gonna use minis for the corners. Put our sentiment on here, and then our last thing is gonna be our linen thread and our embellishments. I'm really happy with how this card turned out. I hope that you guys, if you've stayed to the end, that you are enjoying this process, little building process. So we're going to move this one up here right in the corner. Love that. Okay, so for the linen thread, what I need is a mini glue dot. So I'm going to show you. They come on a roll, and you just need to use your take your pick tool and roll it in a circle until it forms like a little ball, okay? And then you take that and you put it on the back of the knot of the bow. And then it's sticky. And then you can place it wherever you're happy with it, and I'm happy with it right there. Make sure that, yeah, I love the bow a little smaller. I think that looks awesome. All right, so now the final touch are these little pieces, and you wouldn't think that 3 little gems made such a difference, but boy, do they. So I'm going to grab these. They're called solid faceted gems. You can see the beautiful colors that they come in. We're going to use the take your pick tool, and we're going to grab these pink ones, and I'm going to grab a small one and put it over here, and I'm going to grab a large one and put it over here. I'm going to grab another large one. We'll put it in this corner here. Oh, that looks so good. I love it. What do you guys think? Pretty good. So see how beautiful these colors are that this comes in? I think they're awesome. I highly recommend them. All right, so there's our cards. I hope that you enjoyed watching me put this together. Don't forget, you can purchase the Ranunculus Romance stamp set and the Ranunculus dies. Here they are. All the links are in my online store for the products that I used, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me make these cards for you. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you were thinking. Share my video. You can pin it to Pinterest by clicking that share button and save it for a time where you're ready to make this card. I appreciate you guys watching. This is Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. Happy stamping!